So tell me about Raleigh.
It was insane. The concert itself was insane. It started at like 11 something. It was supposed to start at 7:30. There was a whole mosh pit. Everyone stormed the doors. It was crazy. Like honestly, Travis.
Good.
What's up?
Oh, sorry. Every time I hear my name, I think they're talking to me. It's so hard having the most common baby name of the decade. I wish that there was some way I could just shut this off. It's so frustrating. How can I be totally invested in one conversation and when I hear my name, become totally invested in another one?
I actually know the reason why.
You do?
Yeah, have you ever heard of the cocktail party effect?
No, what is that?
Well, it's basically when your attended channel is interrupted by something you're queued for in your unattended channel, something like your name.
Okay, what? Braden, that's nice and all, but channels? What are you even talking about?
You really haven't been paying attention in class, have you?
No.
Okay, well, let's go somewhere more private. I have a feeling we're gonna have to start from the very beginning. Come on. Okay. All right.
Is this really necessary?
Look, do you want to get an A on that cognitive science exam?
I guess so.
Well, then let's focus. All right.
Okay.
So, we're working with attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's no possible way you can focus on everything at once, right?
Of course not. That'd be crazy.
Exactly. So that's why it's called selective attention. You're focusing on the task at hand while ignoring all the other things that are going on around you.
Okay, so far this makes sense. I can't always be focusing on everything, so I pick and choose what stimuli I want to divide my attention to.
Yeah, exactly. So psychologists came up with a way of testing this phenomenon called the dichotic listening task. It involves this process called shadowing, where basically subjects were given a pair of headphones and you hear something in your left ear, you hear something in your right ear. They're told to focus on something that they're hearing in one of the ears, and then they're asked what was heard in the other ear at the end of the test. And what they found is they only could focus on and remember something that was heard in the ear they were told to focus on.
Okay, so earlier when you were talking about channels, the ear that you would hear things in and comprehend, that's the attended channel, right? And the ear that you don't comprehend what's going on, that's the unattended channel?
Yeah, that's exactly right. The weird thing is, at the end of the trial, the subjects were able to pick out physical attributes of the voices that they heard in the unattended channel. So for instance, if I was speaking in your unattended channel, you could pick out the fact that I was male. Unless
what?
Well, unless you heard something that was relevant to you, like your name.
Oh, so just like what happened earlier. Okay. What other things do you know about auditory selective attention?
Well...
Okay, spill it.
Well, the cool thing is about auditory selective attention, the closer you look, there's even differences in what we focus on it, and even when we focus on it.
What do you mean?
Well, recently I read this one study by Woods et al. That talked about the differences in frequency and location of the sound cues that you're hearing. It basically said that when you're presented with a new auditory stimulus really quickly, the first thing you focus on is the frequency of that sound. But when you get something more slowly, you focus on the location of where that sound is coming from. So for instance, it's like you're hearing a fire alarm for the first time. It's really, really loud, and you can only focus on the fact that it has a really high pitch and you just want to get out of there. But when you hear something like your iPhone alarm going off when you're trying to track it, it comes in slow waves, so you're able to more accurately figure out where your iPhone is at.
Okay, that's super interesting. But wait, I'm more curious about how auditory attention on a day-to-day basis. Like, how can it help me in school? You got any information on that?
Honestly, the only thing I remember is this one study done by Dietrich and Stahl. It basically explained how there is different cognitive resources you use for auditory selective attention. In the same way, a visual selective attention task could be interrupted while a concurrent cognitive load task is going on, auditory attention works the same way.
So, are you saying it's bad to listen to my psychology as a profession lecture videos during my other classes?
Moving on, I think there's another study that you might resonate with. Did you ever have a hard time in elementary school focusing on what was going on because all the other kids were being noisy?
Absolutely.
Well, researchers Jones, Moore, and Amate studied children for this exact reason. It's basically ages 9 to 11 where you start forming your auditory selective attention abilities. Before that, however, it's really hard to ignore outside stimuli. As you get older, you get better ignoring outside stimuli and focusing on the auditory information at hand. Okay, I can't be the only one who knows something about auditory selective attention. Give me something.
Okay, I may have something in my notes. Hang on. Well, actually, when I was researching working memory the other day in my free time, I came across a study by Dalton Santangelo and Spence that said that working memory is actually a super important factor when it comes to auditory attention, because your working memory is required to keep reminding yourself of the task at hand. Braden? Braden!